And it is, of course, Youth Month all of this month of June. And a much debated catchphrase in the media lately is toxic masculinity. And it can lead one to ask many questions about what masculinity in itself actually means these days. But some say it's time to replace some of the outdated phrases like boys will be boys, men behaving badly, tigers don't cry and such, with new, healthier concepts of masculinity. My next guest says that mentoring young boys to be outstanding members of society is key to alleviating some of the violence in our country. Sydney Mbhele is the co-founder of Mentor a Boy Child, and they are launching a new 18-month pilot program for boys aged between 14 and 15 years old to coincide with Youth Month 2019. And Sydney joins us now from our Sea Point studios in Cape Town. Sydney, welcome to Morning Live. Let's just start by outlining the meaning of toxic masculinity and what it does in terms of impacting on the psyche of male children.
Good morning, Sakina. Good morning to the viewers at home. You have to walk the streets of our country, in the lengths and breadths of our townships, of our villages, and look at the number of men and young boys roaming the streets, people who should be at school, people who should be at work. And all of these manifest, in the social ills that we see, that we see in our society. Gender-based violence, crime, and all of those things are a manifestation of all of these things. And we believe that there's a way that we can really impact society positively. And that's why we started Mentor a Boy Child.
So let's talk about this program. It's been around for 2 years now, we understand. What are some of the success stories that you could quote at this point?
Well, over the last 2 years, Sakina, we've really been building a chassis, a foundation, if you like, for the organization, because we've seen a lot of these very good initiatives come into life and over time evaporate without meaningful impact. So we've really taken the time to investigate what it takes to build a formidable machine and organization that can be sustainable over time and that can leave a meaningful legacy in terms of really enabling young boys to become better men for society. And we talk about this notion of a healthy masculinity. Men who care about themselves, but also who care about the society in which they live. Men who are ambitious, men who are responsible, and men who want to live this world a better place than they found. And really our notion of healthy masculinity is about leaving that meaningful legacy in our environment, in the society, in our families. And of course, what we'd like to do over the next 18 months is to take all of what we've built, a mentorship model, put into practice with a manageable number of boys, and we've targeted about 100 of those, and ensure that we take the learnings and impart those learnings and refine what we call a replicable model that anyone can take and implement anywhere in our society to ensure that we really grow this notion, really grow this concept in an organic way.
So Sydney, the way your program works is via quarterly workshops. Do you think that that's sufficient time to mentor these boy children?
Well, that's not the only intervention that we have. The quarterly workshops are really, meant to ensure that we focus on the key themes that we've identified. And we've worked with psychologists, we've worked with social workers, and really there are three key areas of intervention that we're going to be focusing on. The one is what you call intrapersonality. How do we get these young boys to develop in terms of their self-esteem, confidence, issues around dignity, issues around mental health. The second theme is around interpersonality. Once you've developed the individual, how do they then interface with the environment in which they live, whether in their families or dealing with some of the societal vices they're exposed to. And then the last one is what we call skills development. And once you've dealt with the intra and the inter, how do you ensure that these people really become meaningful in society? So, concepts related to entrepreneurship, financial literacy and the like, would then take center stage in really helping them contribute positively in society. So this is what we're going to be focused on in the workshops themselves. But we then pair these boys with like-minded mentors, particularly in areas of their interest, whether career-related or something that really creates a connection with someone who can really help you or who can become a bouncing board whenever you are faced with issues in your daily life. And in between, there's a lot of sort of exercises and the interactions with mentors that happen to ensure that we institutionalize all of these things that we would have covered in the workshops. And all of these, we believe over time, will be able to change behavior, will be able to change the way people see themselves as men. And that's why we talk about healthy masculinity as a concept that really changes people from the inside and then manifests in terms of how they behave externally.
Well, Sydney, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much. Sydney Mbhele, who is the co-founder of Mentor a Boy Child, and they are launching a new 18-month pilot program for boys aged between 14 and 15 years old to coincide with Youth Month 2019, and this in order to try and alleviate the strain of what they call toxic masculinity.